Hi, this is Rujing. So today I'm honored to do a brief introduction to Hokkien, one of my mother tongues. I grew up in Fujian province, especially the southern part of the province, which is the origin of Hokkien. And I was educated in the UK for my undergrad and master, both in linguistics and applied linguistics. At the moment, I'm a public relation manager in Ireland. So really great to share my experience. So today's presentation will briefly cover the four parts in the overview of Hokkien, its phonology, and some examples from morphology and syntax. And lastly, I will touch base on the current status of Hokkien from sociolinguistic point of view. Hokkien, it's also called Minnan language. So Minnan here means the southern part of Fujian. Broadly, a lot of varieties are actually derived from Hokkien, uh, with immigrants who migrate from Fujian province to the other province in mainland China, for example, in Hainan province, the small island in southern part of China, and then Zhejiang province, the province north to Fujian province. One saying is that if you cross over a mountain and then you meet with another person who speaks Hokkien, you have difficulty understand him because your accents across uh, the two sides of the mountain will be very different. But in today's presentation, I'm not going to cover all the varieties. I'm just going to cover Hokkien across Fujian province and Taiwan, so across Taiwan Strait. In the map, the red zone here represents Fujian province. The three cities, Zhangzhou, Quanzhou, and Xiamen, strictly speaking, are the origin of Hokkien. And then three more cities, Taipei, Tainan, and Kaohsiung from Taiwan. So people from Zhangzhou and Quanzhou are the first two communities that develop Hokkien. My parents are from Zhangzhou, so I spent the majority of my childhood there. But I moved to Xiamen after secondary school. So basically, I think my accents are a mix of Zhangzhou accent and Xiamen accent. This year, Hokkien ranks 35th of most spoken language in the world with 49 million speakers, covering both first language speakers and second language speakers. And it's also the most spoken lingua franca among overseas Chinese communities in Asia Pacific countries like Singapore and Malaysia. So many of my relatives, my aunties or my brothers move over to Singapore without even learning English because like they could rely on Hokkien for like their daily life. And I think you could come up with the Amoy stir-fry sauce in Asian markets here or in Tesco or even Dan's. So this is a brand from Xiamen. So you can see Amoy. Amoy here is the Hokkien pronunciation of Xiamen. So the food company here uses the Hokkien pronunciation of the city. So actually many linguists or many Hokkien speakers have been debating around the status of Hokkien being classified as a language or as a dialect of Chinese. And one reason that such conversation, such argument is still going on is that actually Hokkien lacks a unified or a standardized written forms. At the moment, how to write Hokkien is still like a mixture of traditional Chinese characters plus the Taiwanese Zhuyin system. So Zhuyin system is the system that Taiwanese people use to spell Mandarin Chinese spoken in Taiwan. Although there are like lack of unified written forms of Hokkien, in 2009, Taiwan Ministry of Education still published a brochure of Taiwanese 1,000 mean recommended characters, which include 700 high-frequency characters as recommendation. And so you could see on the right side, this is just an example that I take from the brochure published by ministry. So you could see, for example, the word here, 侠, which means a car. Then 亲种 here, which means very much like something or almost like something. And then, for example, 前旁 here means scent of some characters nailed down by Ministry of Education to be used as the formal characters for Hokkien. The characters are basically selected based on these three principles. Either they borrow traditional characters from Chinese that both the meaning and the pronunciation are the same. For example, 水 here means water, so the character is same as modern Chinese, or 天美 here means blind. So the two characters are actually borrowed from ancient Chinese characters instead of modern Chinese characters, because like modern Chinese use 诗 being the two characters here to represent the status of the line. And the other two categories are either borrowed Chinese characters of similar meanings but different pronunciations, or similar pronunciations but different meanings. For example, nothing here in Mandarin, it's wu, while in Hokkien it's bo, but the meanings are the same. Or ma here, so in Hokkien it means also, but in Mandarin it means it's a modal particle to be put at the end of a sentence. Then so these are some examples of how the ministry is choosing the characters to represent Hokkien. Move over to phonology. Although there are several systems developed to be used for Hokkien, the mainstream system used at the moment is Taiwanese romanization system, which is derived from Taiwan language phonetic alphabet. It is published by Taiwan Ministry of Education in 2006. So the timeline here is quite clear. The ministry published the romanization system first in 2006, and 3 years after they published the characters recommendation brochure. And the other system, for example, Minnan romanization system, developed by a professor from Xiamen University in 1983, wasn't actually put into massive use. In Hokkien, according to TRS, we have 18 consonants, covered basic consonants like bilabial, velar, glottal, and dental. And we have 6 basic vowels. They are a, I, u, e, o. And then similar to Cantonese, like Hokkien also use some consonants as the backs of vowels, and even the glottal H to be put at the end, at the back position of vowels. And then there are 8 tones in Hokkien, but you could see that, well, this again is taken directly from the brochure published by the Ministry of Education. So you could see here the 6th tone is blank here, because like the 6th tone is very much assimilated to the 2nd tone. So basically the two sort of merged. A bit of the syllable structures. The common syllable structures again will be consonants to be put in the initial position of the syllables, and plus vowels. And then there are 3 positions of vowels like front, central, and back. E and U can be put as front, and then the other vowels put at central position, and then you could see that there are different groupings of vowels, like an or n, which is nasalized, and then some other vowels and some consonant vowels will be put at the back position of vowel, then plus tones. And two examples of how the vowels are grouped. The word big, dua, so the diphthong here will be u plus a. And then the character for horizontal is hua. And then for triphthong, the word which represents magnificent or hero is hyung. So for the A tones, as we mentioned, the sixth tone is basically the same as the second tone. On the right side, you could see there are two examples of the A tones. So the two examples, the two sentences are actually including like A tones within one sentence. For example, the whole sentence is sa de ko kwa lang a p d. So these are tones from 1 to A. Here you can see this means high pitch, medium pitch, and low pitch. So the first tone is a high level. The second tone it falls from high to medium. So de and ko it's lower. Kwa it's short and medium. Lang, so a little bit rise from medium low to medium high. And A is very much like day. Again, you can see that tone 2 and 6 basically the same. And then P is medium and longer. And then did it's like the higher version of tone 4. The sentence itself doesn't mean much. So shirt, short, trousers, wide, person, short, nose, straight. The second interesting example here is about animals. A kinds of animals represent A kinds of tones. So lion is sai, tiger, hawk, leopard, bull, turtle. The turtle is right above the head of monkey. Turtle is B, and monkey, gao, dog, gao, and then the elephant is qiong, and then deer is lo. Put it together, it would be sai, ho, bo, bi, gao, gao, qiong, lo. So again, if you refer to illustration here, the differences between tones noticeable. So if there are basic tones, then of course there will be change of tones. I will touch three principles from the Sunday of tones in Hokkien. So the basic principle is that the last syllable will remain as its basic tones, but the preceding syllable will be changed to higher pitches. So over within a sentence or within a word, then usually it's the tones, the tone flows are changed from higher pitches to medium or even lower pitches. Take the duplicated adjectives as an example. So tone 1, move over to 7, 7, move over to 3, to 2, and to 1. And there are two divisions for 5. So tone 5 is either changed to 7 or 3. It depends. For example, like the northern part of Taiwan being Taipei. So the accent there will be, tone 5 will be changed over to 3. But in southern part of Taiwan, like the more traditional communities like Tainan or Kaohsiung, tone 5 will change over to 7. And then the rest of the tones being like tone 4 will change to A, 8 to 4. especially with consonant vowels or glottal stop H here. So I'll take these two as example. Smiley in single adjective or in basic tone is chill. So it's tone 3. But if you duplicated them, it will be chill, chill. So the preceding syllable, its tone 3 has changed to tone 2. Similarly, the change from 2 to 1. So the basic tones of cold in Hokkien, ling, so it's tone 2. But the preceding, the first ling is changed to tone 1. So it's ling, ling. Again, higher pitch to medium to lower pitch. So the second principle of Sunday will be that pronouns will be assimilated to preceding syllables, which are either tone 1, 3, or 7. For example, here to give you, so the basic tone of you is the, and then together it will be Holi. So here the pronunciation is assimilated to Ho. Then the third principle is double sandy. For syllables ending in the glottal H and having tone 4, you apply the normal sandy twice. So in the diagram here, it will be 4, change to 2, and change to 1. So for example, betate. So it means want to read books. So again, here, the basic tones of bet is tone 4, and then the principle is applied twice. So it becomes tone 1. So a bit on the lexicon. So two famous borrowed words in English will be ketchup and tea. So these two words are actually from Hokkien. So ketchup in Hokkien, it's pronounced as kejong. So kejong, yeah, it's very much like ketchup in English, but in Mandarin, it's 茄酱 or 番茄酱 in the word tea. In Hokkien, it's teh, and in Mandarin, it's cha. So of course, you could tell that the borrowed words in English tea is closer to Hokkien teh. Another feature that is more noticeable are the Japanese loanwords into Hokkien spoken in Taiwan, but not Hokkien spoken in Fujian province. According to a report from Ministry of Education, there are 170 loanwords from Japanese. For example, bus. So Hokkien borrows like basu from Japanese, but in Hokkien spoken in Fujian province, it's gongqia. Next, I'm going to mention about morphological side. So for example, here, so one of the two functions I refer to here, the second example here. So Guo Rujing. So the possessive meaning here, or it could be representing like peace. So like 冷耶朗, so two persons. And then another interesting example is the function words ho. So in its the traditional meaning, like the essence meaning is to give something. For example, teacher Lim gives me books. Lim lo su hogwa che. So here, ho means to give. But the other two functions will be passive or the preposition of verb. For example, I was beaten by him. Gua ho i pa. Or I will let you die. What Hodi see? I illustrated in interesting Taiwan film here. It's a gangster film called Monga. Monga is one of the districts in Taiwan, and then back to like 1970s, 80s, a lot of young gangsters are united there, and then they usually like before fighting, they usually like shout out to each other saying that I will let you die. It's also another interesting example, function of Ho. And then another example is the plurality of Hokkien. So how does Hokkien fulfill the function of plurality? So it would be singular pronouns plus plural reference. And in Hokkien, it's N, so the nasalization vowel. So in Hokkien, me or I is Guo. When it's nasalized, Guan, that means we in plural forms, but excluding you. And then if it's long, again, it's nasalized, but it's we, including you. If you would like to say you, in singular form, it's li. And then when it's nasalized, so lin in plural forms. And then the third pronoun will be i. So when it's nasalized, yin, it means they. Lastly, how is Hokkien used in the two main streets? In Fujian province in mainland China, Mandarin, of course, is the only official language. In 2001, there was a official Mandarin promotion campaign issued by the Ministry of Education in China. So basically, to promote Mandarin over any other dialects. And I think this is somehow like linked towards the government's ambition to raise the level of literacy among the population. 2001 was the year I entered primary school. And since that year, I wasn't allowed to speak Hokkien in campus because that's one of the assessments for top students each year, not to speak heritage language, but speak Mandarin in campus. My parents always try to like remind me the importance of Hokkien. So at home, they always try to like talk me in Hokkien only. And but recent years, I would say there are some rising trends in protection of heritage languages. Although there are some like written of Hokkien channels or Hokkien dramas or TV series in provincial TV of Fujian, um, I would say like they're nowhere close to mainstream TV shows in mainland China. And of course, there are ongoing courses and researches and applications developed for Hokkien speech. For example, this is a screenshot of the Hokkien speech production app um, developed by the speech lab in Xiamen University. Things are pretty different and more advanced in Taiwan, as Hokkien is already said as the one of the official languages in Taiwan. So a bit of history here. Kuomintang was defeated and escaped over to Taiwan. When the troops and the people they brought from mainland China to Taiwan finally settled down in Taiwan. So there are basically two groups of people: the outside province person, people who don't speak Hokkien, and then the other major community will be the original residents, so original province person. These people speak Hokkien. If they are Han ethnic group, that means that they are not one of the minorities living up in Highland. So these people are basically Fujian immigrants who migrated to Taiwan since like Ming and Qing dynasty in 1948 to reinforce their power. Only Mandarin Chinese was the official national language, and all the other heritage languages were forbidden by Kuomintang government. But like since 1980s, 90s, and entering the new century, we would see a return of mother tongue education, where all elementary school students would be offered to learn their mother tongue, and then the majority, of course, being Hokkien. Then teacher who would like to teach Hokkien in primary or secondary schools would also need to secure their teacher qualification from Ministry of Education as well. So the two examples here is the one of the textbooks in used in primary schools in Taiwan, and the title, the topic will be "家得拜贵." So what day is it today? And then nowadays in Taiwan, you can also see a lot of like slogans in Hokkien. So this sentence is actually in Hokkien. So 进来报名. This is the slogan I took from the teacher qualification website. So it means hurry up and submit your application. So these are all examples of how Hokkien is more developed, more standardized, widely used and taught in Taiwan, with the status of being one of the official languages. But still, while I was an exchange student in Taiwan, I encountered many situations where I spoke Hokkien with the elder generation, for example, in bus, and then they are very surprised that as a young person, I still speak Hokkien. And then one of the grandpa that I met even encouraged me, saying that, wow, the future of Hokkien will be rely on you. So I think they are all worrying the status or the trends of Hokkien.